So you've collaborated with so many artists, musicians, producers, labels, executives from labels. What is your, maybe there's more than one, but what's your advice for someone who's coming into this field or maybe who's been in this field for a while in terms of how to approach collaboration? So, and I think we could remove one part, which is I don't think for this answer talk about the psychological juggling game with artists. So let's think about everyone else. So an even playing field collaboration. Where do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Although that other part that you're taking out, it's the biggest part. I mean, really. I mean, it is really a way of because the studio is not a natural setup. I mean, when you go into the studio, I mean, nowadays there's no studio. So, but I mean, when the records were made that way, um, you're going into a place where there's a lot of pressure. You know, you're supposed to deliver your best performance ever at that particular moment, and even if you don't feel like it. And there's a lot of insecurity, usually, you know, riding not so much on the musicians they play, although that plays a role, but the artist himself or herself. So that part is actually a really big part. How you can create musically by involving other people and the artist himself into what you call collaboration is just a dialogue, you know, the musical
Mm.
dialogue, and go, okay, this part, and make them feel like they're protected and make them feel. My job I always thought was to just allow the artist to just walk on a rope and not be afraid of falling because I'll be there to catch him. So that part has to be there, and then the collaboration. It's actually, yeah, it's important because you want the input from the other musicians, and you want to be open. You don't want to be that's my sound, dude. It's all I can play. You know, you never get called again. You know, basically, or you. It's like it's counterproductive. It's not music is made. Music is a dialogue. So there are roles that need to be respected, especially if you're young or if you, but even if you're, I mean, all the biggest names that I ever worked with, they're so humble. I mean, they just do whatever. I mean, you have to because you know that you don't know anything basically, and you're always exposed, and all your I know this and that, all your knowledge it always gets tested, and you're always in situations where you can really cut it. I mean, and you have to be able to deal with that and say, look, okay, I don't know. Let me open myself up to whatever I can contribute without, you know, that's my sound or that's the part I hear and that's it. If you talk about the players, from the producer point of view, it's the same because you might have, like me, might have all a great idea of how that works, and then you hear it with real musicians, and you have to be ready to go, okay, that doesn't work. Instead of forcing things with, and so you take their suggestion, and I don't know if that's what you were asking me. I don't know if I'm actually
Yeah,
answering the
yeah,
question. Okay.
absolutely. So involving musicians in the process and then the collaboration when someone from the label side of things might have a note for you on a record. How would you handle that?
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's got nothing to do with music, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the professional side of things, and you have to take into consideration because they're paying the bill, and it's their money, and they're actually you're at their service. I mean, you're at first at the service of the artist. You're trying to help. It's not a power job where oh, you're going to sing this. It's actually how can I help this guy sound better, right? And then, as I said earlier, then you're in between. You have to then uh, take into account, um uh, let's call them suggestions, or you know, from people who have no
Mandates.
idea. No, they have no idea what, you know, they have all different outlook and what they think it should be, and for whatever reasons, and they're usually wrong. Most of them have nothing to do with how that musical part, you know, and so then you have to either work your diplomatic way into changing their mind because you know that that's wrong. But you know, usually when you work with people that people respect you, if they hire you to do something, that's not really that bad. I mean, it's sometimes they might say something and you take it into consideration. If you can, if you think it's viable, yeah, let's change it. You know, because they might help selling the record. From that point of view, from the musical point of view, I mean, I've done so many sessions. I mean, infinite. I just don't even want to tell you about the comments that you have to listen to, especially when you're not famous or you don't have the power to call the shots. You just have to do it, and it's like this is wrong. It's like it's wrong. And in fact, it's always wrong because musicians know music. I mean, if they're musicians, they know they speak the language. They know when something is not working out, and they just accept it because they're getting paid for it, and for other reasons, but and that's why it's important to talk to them. What do you think? And that's why Narda was talking to us. What do you think about this? How would you change it? And you know that's how music was different in the respect that it would be different every time, because it's people contributing to something. It's not just a guy on a laptop and just sampling and just okay, that's it. And some like this great guitar player I saw, a great comment they had that today's popular music is some guy with a laptop and a aspiring celebrity next to him trying to sing over the loops, basically. Back then it was just really actually just creating it together, and that's why it sounded different every time, and it sounded live, it sounded lively, it sounded like with the spirit.